This is Brent.
Hey, Brent, this is Tyler Harris and Joseph Caldwell, and you are on the Sales Wolves podcast, my friend.
So my question was, if you have somebody that you see and you know has, this unlimited potential, but they're not tapping into any of it, do you guys think you try to push that individual and motivate that individual to do better? When do you stop? When's it appropriate to continue to go? When's it appropriate to kind of pull back on the reins? Or do you really invest time doing it at all?
Over the years, I've actually ruined some friends because of what you're talking about here, because I figured out that unasked for advice is 100% of the time criticism. And if you're criticizing someone, they don't like you and they will never listen to you. Even if they like you, they won't listen to you ever.
Our vow and our philosophy. The sales wolves hustle hard, it's our policy. We create economies, crushing anomalies. Came in this world to dominate with no apologies. Gotta get it till the day that we cease to breathe. Sales wolves got the tools that you know you need. Real lessons, confessions of what it really means to go from nothing to something and everything between. Married to the game and we took vows. Gonna get it poppin', yeah, when you hear them wolves howl. When you hear them wolves howl, yeah. When you hear them
Tyler Harris here.
Joseph.
Tyler Harris here. So, guys, I wish you could see the setup. We've got, who's this up here? This is mine, right?
This is Sales Wolves.
We got Sales Wolves Facebook. We got Tyler Harris Facebook. We got Motivation Kings Facebook. We got the main camera here recording. And we have got a lot of stuff going on here. But this is episode 39 of the Sales Wolves podcast. And we will just go ahead and start off by saying I am Tyler Harris.
Joseph Caldwell.
And we are the Sales Wolves. Ow!
All right.
Yeah. So we are doing live Q&A. So if you have any questions...
This is lunch with the Sales Wolves.
This is lunch with the Sales Wolves.
And I don't have any lunch.
We don't have any lunch yet. Lunch is on the way, and hopefully Monster Energy is on the way.
And when it gets here, if you ask a question, Tyler will be answering it because I am freaking hungry.
So our first topic is the importance of being hungry in sales. No, but all right, so here's how it's going to work, guys. If you have a question, comment below and we will answer it on here live. Just so you guys know, this podcast episode is going to post in 2 weeks on Sales Wolves Wednesday, and so you'll get to see this recap. And then we are going to be calling people that have questions that we think are a great question. We're going to be calling them live on the show, and
today?
We'll get you on the phone today. We're going to be calling them live. They're going to be coming through this little speaker.
I've been traveling this week. I forgot that's what we were doing.
That's what we're doing.
So you're going to get to hear me chewing live.
That's it.
Here in a minute.
So what do we do?
So number one, we want to go into why this podcast exists, and then we're going to dive right into the questions. So we do this
pick
for
up your gallon of water and drink some?
thirsty and hungry.
So the second, stay thirsty, my friends.
So we do this podcast for two reasons. For those of you that may not have seen the podcast before, because we're coming live from a bunch of different places. Number one, go to the Facebook.com/Sales Wolves podcast. You can search it on iTunes if you just search Sales Wolves. You can find us on YouTube if you just search Sales Wolves. But we do this podcast, and we created this podcast for two reasons. And what are those?
Number one, we just want to show appreciation for salespeople. It's a lonely profession a lot of times. And a lot of times in the world, what is that? A lot of times in the world, we hear... if somebody says, well, I'm in sales, you hear people go, oh, what do you...
Is it commission only?
Is it commission only?
Oh, man.
Or sometimes even worse than that, like, man, well, I hope you find something a little better.
Things will work out.
Things will work out,
I hope
man.
things
Keep
turn
your
around
chin
for
up.
you.
Yeah, I hope they turn around. So we want to show appreciation for salespeople, provide some tactical training for salespeople. But more than that, it's just a self-improvement, self-development. If you are on a path of... if you are addicted to the next level, if you are, like we talked about last week, if you're addicted to the next level, then this is for you. because we talk about how we have systematically gone level to level to level. And we hope that that helps you. And that doesn't matter whether you're a stay-at-home dad or you're Miss Corporate Lawyer or you're Dr. Whoever. What are you doing on a daily basis to take your game to another level?
And it's a fact that every single person is selling themselves. And just as I'm saying, as you were just talking, I was just thinking to myself, it is also a fact that everyone has to sell themselves
on stuff.
So it's not just that you're selling yourself on everything that you do every single day, but you also have to sell yourself in order to get to the next level and level up in your career. So that's just what we're all about. It's just about providing value. We've had tremendous failures in our life. We've had tremendous successes in our life, and we've learned equally from both of them. And we come from a place where right now we are doing extremely well in sales. And we have some credibility there to be able to actually provide real tactical advice and to be able to actually answer your questions, and not just answer your questions, but actually give a crap, like actually like care about the person that is asking the question. So with that, we could not do any of this without DJ J Runk behind the technology here. We like to call him Steven Spielberg, but if you could see, this is actually my office, or it used to be. Now there's just cables and wires and monitors and TVs and
still
cameras
several hundred
and
Gary Vee books.
And for those of you that can see, we've got, I don't know, 600 Gary Vee books left. We may give out some Gary Vee books to some good questions. Actually, we'll do that. If you have a really good question, like if your question is not that great, we're not going to give you a book. But
I'll even mimic the signature. I'm kidding. I will not do that.
What does that say about a person that signs their signature on someone else's book? Tiffany Strunk, who's probably on mine here, she was like, "I got your book in the mail." She's like, "I was hoping that you would have signed it," and I was thinking in my head, I'm like, what kind of ego-driven person would sign their name on someone else's book? But hey, we might do that today.
No, you give away books a lot of times and say, "Hey, I was thinking about you," and whatever.
That's true.
But you were thinking of it from an author standpoint of a But I mean, every book I've ever given to somebody, I've put a note to them.
Yeah, that's true.
All right,
reach for the stars.
Reach for the stars.
Yeah, we are ready for the first caller.
So this is Tony Kosak.
Tony Kosak.
Tony, if you're listening, please mute your live.
Oh.
Hello.
Tony.
Yes.
What's up, man? You are live on the podcast. If you can mute whatever you're watching this on, that would help a little bit with the feedback. But can you hear me okay?
Okay, so mute it.
Yeah, mute what you're listening on. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Hey, where are you from again, Tony?
Just south of Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay. Got it. Very cool. So you are live on the podcast. So what is your question?
So the question that I posted the other day was, the question was, how do you get over past failures when you're a little older in life, starting over? So how do you deal with those when they kind of are messing with your mind a little bit, I guess you could say, as you're starting over later in life?
All right, man, I got this one because Tyler's fresh off the tit anyway, so he's so young. Listen to this, man. I have had so many failures, and it took me so long to get to a place where I actually had a win. I've dealt with this. I've dealt with this big time, and I've actually worked with people that are even older than I am that have seen these failures. And so number one thing that I did, because I had so many past failures with really zero big wins, was I looked for other people like me, right? I started reading books, and one of the first stories that just got me so fired up, because here's the thing, if someone's done it, then I can do it too. You got to get that mentality. If someone's done it, then I can do it too. And so I went and found Colonel Sanders. You got to read his story, man. He was in his 60s, and a politician with a stroke of a pen changed a road And so no longer did the main thoroughfare of traffic go past his restaurant that he had built his whole life. And instead of laying around and feeling sorry for himself, he took his little retirement check, which was like $100 and something a month. I want to say $166 a month. He went bankrupt. He only had a truck. He had a pressure cooker and that little $166 a month, and he went barnstorming across Kentucky and got over 1,100 no's. 1,100. And before he finally started getting wins and yeses and died with an empire, the Kentucky Fried Chicken empire. I mean, and I think when he passed away, it was in over 100 countries. Are you kidding? I mean, that's unbelievable. And when you find stories like that, you go, man, if he did that, if that persistence happened, I can do it too. And see, he had past failures, but he was able to get over it. It's harder for somebody. You know, Pavlov's dogs, you can train somebody, and failure will train you to look for failure. That will happen. But you have to...
Yeah, that makes sense.
You have to consciously fight that. And you have to consciously decide, you know what? I don't care what happened then. This is going to be different. Now, I may need to change. And so you get on a self-development path, and you know that if you change you, it will change your circumstances, period. Learn from past failures, learn from past mistakes, but man, absolutely hit it head on with whatever you're doing now, and have a short memory. Everybody's going to fail. If you quit looking at failure as failure and only look at it as learning, it will change everything in your mentality and the way you go at it.
Hey, Tony. Tony, one thing that I'll add in there is well, two things I'll add. One is Gary Vaynerchuk did a video and it went viral, but you should look it up. And I want to say it was titled something like "For Those Over 50" or "For Those Over 40." But the title is something like that. We'll try to link it up in the comments. But it was specifically talking to people that felt that same way, that felt like they were in a place in their life that they didn't think that they would end up, and what they can do from there moving forward. And that's probably the biggest thing that I can say is that even when I turned 30, I was in a place in my life that I didn't think I was going to be in when I was 20, when I was 25. I was not in the place where I thought I should be or thought I would be. And what happened is I had to battle this thought of, now I have to play catch up. Now I have to play catch up. Now I have to play catch up.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I have to catch up. Exactly. And when you fixate on having to catch up, it slows you down. It just does, because people can sense desperation out of someone from a mile away. And when you feel as though you're having to play catch up, it creates that sense of desperation, and it creates that situation where you take that risk that necessarily shouldn't have been taken because you're trying to go after something and again play catch up. So that's one of the big things that I've learned was that I just needed to sit back and be patient. And it doesn't matter if you're 60, 70, 80 years old. That still has to be the mentality that as long as you're still breathing, that there is plenty of time on the clock, and you can still be patient and know that if you start doing the right things on a daily basis, that it's going to change. And it may not happen overnight, but it can happen quickly. But having that mentality where you don't feel as though you're having to play catch up is super, super important.
All right, guys. Well, listen, I really appreciate both of you taking the time to answer my question. And keep doing what you're doing. I love watching you guys every week.
I appreciate it, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
Hey, and we're going to send you a Ask Gary V book, by the way.
By the way, Tony, how old are you?
39.
Holy shit, man. You got your whole life ahead of you. Dude, you're going to crush it.
I see it from that point of view, but also I also deal with some of, the mind game of, hey, I should be in a different spot by this point.
Yeah, life never hands you the spot you think you should be in, though. But
there's an interesting quote that I posted the other day where it talks about playing the hand you're dealt like it's the exact hand that you wanted. And that's the confidence that you have to
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Tony. Well, we appreciate you calling in.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Thanks a lot.
All right, man.
Thanks, man.
I just realized that we said calling in, but we called you. But we appreciate your answer. All right, who we got next? Steven Spielberg.
That's awesome, man. That was a great question, though, because that is a real deal to deal with.
We're going to take a question from online in the comments. So, I'm going to butcher this name. Karshina, I believe is the name. Karshina Jackson says, how do you stay motivated?
Okay.
Hell, I don't.
Yeah, I think that's a
misnomer.
It's a common question that we get, but it's a common kind of misconception. There's an interesting concept though that I think that leads into in the dynamic between inspiration and motivation.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about this on a Facebook Live. I believe it was maybe last week or the week prior. Inspiration comes from a Latin word meaning in spirit, which means it comes from within. Like inspiration comes from what's already inside you, and it's what you're passionate about, what your purpose is in life. Whereas motivation is external. What I've learned is that anytime that you feel like you need to be motivated to do something, it's motivated to do something that is not based around what you're passionate about and what your purpose is driven by. And so you're motivated probably to do something that you don't feel like doing. Inspiration is the will to do something that you are 100% all in on, you were born to do. And so sometimes...
But you won't feel like doing it all the time.
Exactly. And that's when you need that. So motivation can help push someone, but ultimately it's the inspiration that's inside you that is going to keep you moving forward on the right path. And so for me, that the big thing there is just trying to figure out what you're passionate about and what your actual purpose is in life, because once you find that, you will have less of a need for these external sources to provide you with motivation. Now, it's always good to surround yourself with external stuff that's positive versus anything that is negative, but you won't need that to get out of bed in the morning. You won't need that to pick up that phone and make that last call. You won't need that to go to work the next day and be fired up, because you will be inspired and not motivated because you're doing what you're born to do. So I hope that answers that question.
All right, next caller.
That was good, Tyler.
Thank you.
Next caller is...
I get a book. Appreciate it.
Daryl Stroop is who we're calling.
Daryl Stroop. I kind of want him not to answer just so we can leave a great voicemail.
Hello.
Hey, is this Daryl?
Yeah, this is him.
Hey, Daryl, this is Tyler Harris and Joseph Caldwell, and you are on the Sales Wolves podcast.
Outstanding.
We appreciate you leaving the comment with the question, and if you don't mind asking that question again, and we will answer for you here live.
Yeah, I believe it was, what's the difference between customer support and customer success?
Customer support and customer success. What do you think?
In reference to what? Like if you're a salesperson and you're helping a customer, or what?
Yeah, if you're in a sales marketplace, or say you're just, someone gives you a call, has a complaint about the product or something like that, are you gonna support them, or are you gonna make sure that customer has a successful transaction with you, such as leaving feeling satisfied and wanting to come back, like a retention thing?
I think one aspect that I'll just add in before Joseph answers your question here is that I feel like customer support is reactive, whereas customer success would be proactive. And so customer support or customer service, I guess is another way to say it, would be more like someone's got a problem, they called in, now how do we handle that? Whereas customer success would be more of a proactive, making sure that that customer already has whatever they need to have that positive experience. So that would be my first impression kind of to that question, is one's proactive and one's reactive. What do you think, Joe?
Dude, that was the best answer I could have ever come up with. That was awesome. I was going to say, I think they're both the same thing. If you can help a customer have a successful relationship with you, no matter what that product or service is, if you can help them have that successful relationship, then the rest of it kind of takes care of itself.
One thing, we're big fans of Andy Frisella. and he's got the MFCEO project. You may watch that or listen to that. But one thing he talks about is that the customer service or customer support situations when there's a problem present the biggest opportunities to create a raving fan for your company.
Yep.
A lot of people look at problems where customer service has to take care of it or handle it as this huge issue, like, oh no, we've got this customer service issue, where they look at it as an opportunity to be able to provide so much service in such an extraordinary way that customer that was pissed off when they called now is leaving going, holy cow, this is the best company on the planet because of the way they handled my situation.
That's
so
right.
I think that also plays a lot. And a lot of times people just want to be heard.
A lot
of times it's not coming up with some answer to make them happy. A lot of times people are just frustrated when they're calling customer support or customer service.
Tyler and I know this so well because we're married.
Not to each other. Not to each other.
By the way, we're not married to each other, but our wives, they just want to be listened to sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, yeah, they don't want to hear a BS excuse when they give you a call and say, maybe that's like the 10th time they gave you a call that day, and they probably heard the same thing. You know, that would just make them feel like you don't even care. So, yeah, a little bit of empathy, but I do agree that being proactive would definitely be better than being reactive in any kind of situation, especially in sales.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. Hey, where are you from?
I'm from Oregon.
Okay. Very cool.
Oregon. Great state.
Well, good deal. Well, I think you're
Well, just like on the coast in Oregon.
Oh,
yeah,
very cool.
It's awesome.
Good deal, man. Well, hey, we're going to send you out a Ask Gary V book. Do you have that book?
Oh, no, I'll read it, though.
Cool. It's incredible. We'll send it out to you. So if you want to message us your address, we'll get one out in the mail to you.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. Thank you guys so much.
Man. Absolutely. Have a good day.
Appreciate it.
You too.
Please don't eat another piece of my chicken.
Dude, if you keep talking, I'm just going to keep snacking on your chicken over here.
All right. I'm going to take a look.
So we have a page coming in from Motivate, or a comment coming in.
What's
from
up, guys?
Motivational Kings. This is where Tyler's looking in right now. He's looking
Joe
everywhere.
Sailman. What's up, man?
And the question
Man, mine was good. I was so hungry.
Should I keep going to college or stop because I think it's not worth it?
I got it. Who's that from?
Sorry, that came in from Timothy Kojo.
Timothy. Are we calling him or are we just answering this
We're
one?
not calling him.
All right. Timothy, man, that's a great question. And I would tell you, I don't have enough information to answer that question or to give you that type of advice. That's a life-altering decision.
Nor does anyone other than you.
Yeah, nor does anybody. That is a life-altering decision right there. So if you're going to school to be a doctor, then I would say don't quit going to school. If you're going to school to be an engineer, don't quit going to school.
If that's what you're supposed to be doing,
If
being
that's
a
what
doctor
you're supposed to be
or an
doing.
engineer.
Yeah, an accountant. I mean, education with a purpose is incredible, right? I mean, that's what I feel like it's what here on this earth, half our time, you know, we should constantly be learning. But it's different, right? So one of my brothers, I have identical twin brothers, and one finished college and the other one dropped out. They were both at the same college, University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And because one of them knew that he wanted to be an entrepreneur and be in business for himself, and he had a plan in place, and he went and chased that plan. That's what he did. Now, my mom, my dad, nobody agreed with his decision, but everybody thinks it was their damn idea now because he's done very well. My brother that stayed in school has also done very well, right? He's done really well, and so they may measure success differently. Those two, one of them, I think, does it strictly off the dollars, and but both of them have done well financially. So I can't answer that question for Timothy.
You know, Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this a lot, especially a lot lately, and a lot of what he talks about has to do with the fact that this is a decision that you need to make because of what's in your heart, not a decision you need to make based off of what others think, specifically what your parents think, or what your friends think, or what your siblings think.
Yep.
It needs to be based on what you think. And I was even listening to him, watching a video of his yesterday, And he said, basically, he's like, my advice would be to go tell your mom to F off. Like, literally, that's what he said. And everyone was like, oh. But he's like, but what I don't want, and the reason he's so passionate about it, is that by doing what they want you to do will appease them in the short term. Mm-hmm. You not doing what you're supposed to do long term will be the biggest damage, have the catastrophic effect on your relationship with your parents, because you will hold them responsible for you not chafing. That's
I actually hold Tyler responsible for my chafing.
Not chasing after what you were supposed to do, or chasing after your dream, and that will end up becoming a huge roadblock in that relationship long term versus just hitting it right on the front end. So that's a great question.
By the way, you chafe me. Good question, man. Keep going.
All right.
You complete me.
God, about choked on some salmon.
Hey, can you text Jill and tell her I need a Monster Energy drink?
Sales will die.
It's really bad.
Sales will die.
I'll go get it for you.
I will.
On salad.
Text Nathan and have him go get it.
That'd be the girliest. Oh, I don't want to say girly. That's not a good thing. That'd be the. I don't even know the word to say now. Sales will dies by choking on salad.
On salad.
Robbie Riproll.
Robbie.
Hello.
Hey, Robbie. Joseph Caldwell and Tyler Harris here on the Sales Wolves podcast. How are you, man?
I am great. How y'all doing?
Man, we're doing awesome.
Good, man. We are doing our live lunch with the Sales Wolves, and we saw that you had a question. And if you wanted to repeat it, we'll see what we can do about answering it.
All right, cool, yeah. So my question is, how do you keep pushing when you've hit a plateau in a personal development business that you're starting from scratch, and still feel like you don't know what the fuck you're doing, regardless of lots of positive feedback? And how do you monetize personal development and self-help?
So those are two great questions. The second one is an incredibly complex question.
Yep.
But the first, you want to hit the first one first? Those are great questions.
Anytime you hit a plateau in anything, you know, I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. I love what he's done. I feel like he's one of the, I feel like he's one of the greatest humans that that has ever walked the face of the earth. And it's funny, you know, I say that and people laugh, but literally, like, I've just broke his life down, like what would, like, if I moved to a different country and I didn't speak the language, and I first learned the language, and then I became famous in that country for lifting weights. Like, I lift weights and nobody cares. You know what I'm saying? And so
I care.
And and then he's like, you know what? That's not enough. But I don't even speak the language that good. But I'm going to become famous in the movies. Mm-hmm. And then boom, he does that, and he does it like doesn't even speak correctly, right? Then he's like, I'm gonna marry into royalty.
Is this getting you emotional?
Dude, I'm choking on that damn salad. Let me take a sip of this drink so I don't die here.
As the manliest sales wolf.
That was supposed to be good for you. It's not supposed to kill you.
Right?
Yeah, this one's hurting.
They call it roughage for a reason.
It's called roughage for a reason. Then he becomes, after becoming famous in the movies, then he's like, I'm going to marry into royalty. And he marries into the Kennedy family. And then if that's not enough, he says, I'm going to become my whole public office in a state I can't pronounce. You know? Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable what he's done in his lifetime. And so what he would do, I've gone back, since I've seen his life, I've gone back and looked at his earlier stuff. And you know how he would break through a plateau? He would break, like if he was hit a plateau with legs, he would literally go up into the woods.
I know.
And when you watch his documentary, it's unbelievable. He would go up into the woods and he would do squats in the woods camping until he literally could not walk. Like, I'm talking 100 sets, like insane amount of weights. And then he would just insanely eat and hang out there all night, and probably did some riotous living as well there. But he would break through plateaus like that. So anytime I have hit a plateau in life, I double my workout. Like I double down on my hard work. I throw myself at it that much more. I'll trim sleep back, right? And I'll start getting up earlier. And you have to take breaks from that. You will just hurt yourself, but if you go at it as hard as you can, man, I'm telling you, that's one way to break a plateau. And then turning self-improvement and monetizing it, I'm not the best person to ask for that.
Yeah, and that's why we do this for free.
Yeah, that's why we do this for free.
Because we don't want to even have to worry about it. But hey, one thing that I wanted to add is that so many times when you're in it, like when you're in it, doing what you're doing on a daily basis, it's very, very easy to have that concept of, I haven't figured this out. Even when other people are giving you positive feedback, but to feel like, so I talk a lot about being a fraud, and that being a fraud is actually a good thing because it means that you're trying something new, but you're doing it with the confidence as though you're going to go out and crush it, and that creates a fraudulent environment to be in. But here's what
it does is it's human nature. It creates an unstable environment, and our very human nature from thousands of years ago is to seek safety, and that's unsafe. And so that feeling you feel is a good thing. Chase that feeling to the end of that dream.
And one thing that's interesting is I was watching a video yesterday, and it was from the Vid Summit conference out in, I can't remember, somewhere on the West Coast.
San Diego?
I'm not sure where it was, but the interesting thing was, so it was a bunch of influencers, a bunch of YouTube creators, influencers, a bunch of social media people that were out there. And they were talking, and they said, guys, you have to realize, like, look around you on all these people in the room, and these are people that do this pretty much full-time for a living. They're like, what we are doing, 98% of the world has no clue what we're talking about. They don't understand anything about what we're doing. We have just gotten into this environment where we surround ourselves with others that all know tons about what we do, and it makes us feel like that's the new normal. Like, okay, well, I'm just doing what everybody around me, like they know this, they're better at this guy's better at this, and forgetting that the other 98% of the world has no earthly idea how to do what you're doing.
Right.
And so that's super important, just to kind of look back, be able to take a step back and kind of look at it from that framework. I remember when I was
you kind of blew my mind.
Say again?
So you just kind of blew my mind with that one.
Well, so the interesting thing, when I was a financial advisor right out of college, I mean, I'm literally 21 years old, and I would have this internal dialogue with myself, and I would say, okay, I'm 21, I just graduated, and I'm going to go talk to a 65-year-old about his absolute life savings and all of his safety, meaning his money, and I'm going to have to convince him to take my advice on what to do with his livelihood, all of his money. Yep. And I would have this internal dialogue with myself, like, who am I to have that conversation with that person? Like, I am not qualified to do that. And it would create doubt in me. But I remember a mentor of mine at the time would tell me that what you know, even in the short amount of time that you've been doing this in this career, is 95% more than the entire rest of the world know about finances and about investments. And you just have to hang your hat on that, not what do I know compared to the best person in my field, but what do I know compared to the person that's sitting across the table from me, which is probably vastly more.
Right.
And when it comes to monetizing, the best thing you can do is just putting your content out there. If you have to do it free, then do it free. But being able to then upsell those people that are that you're providing value to down the road, and whether that's one-on-one coaching, and I'm not sure exactly what you're looking to do. But what I do know is that there is, I want to say the statistic I read the other day said that corporations are going to spend something like $40 billion next year on consulting. Which is insane. So there's a lot of money to be had in the self-development, especially on the corporate side as well. So it's a huge, huge market. You just got to develop your niche. And that's the last thing I would say is figure out that niche and make it super narrow that you want to actually work with, that you enjoy working with, and just go.
It's funny you say that, because my niche is tattoo artists, because we're all fucked up in the head and none of us really go for the self-help the way we should.
That's
so. You give me a lot of confirmation here, guys.
Man, that is an incredible.
That's an incredible niche.
That's the perfect niche because it's so narrow and no one has owned that space. Like if you can become the person that's the expert of how to take a tattoo artist and make them more successful, professionally and personally, that's how you win right there. Like I would go all in.
Are
on
you
that
a tattoo artist?
Yeah, actually, I've been doing it for 20 years. I was on season 5 of Ink Master. I've got a lot of experience in that, and it took me down a really dark path. And then that's how I found personal development, and it saved my life. So I want to help tattooers save their own lives with personal development.
Yeah,
but not a lot of guys are going to listen to Brendan Bouchard, and some go out and blew us out the way that I do because they're not covered in tattoos and they don't say fuck all the time. Yeah. You know?
That's right. Hey, man, tattoo artist, I see this. I've got a lot of work on me. You can't see it when I'm on these. My whole back is covered in chest. But tattoo artists, a lot of time, are like tormented artists. Yeah. And they have that, you know, that almost that dark suicidal run in their life. A lot of times you see that, and it comes out in a lot of their art. And I think that is a great space for you to be in, man. You can rescue people there. And you actually are super fucking qualified because it's done that for you, right? And so that's incredible, man. Go at that.
Yeah, that's it, man. And we gotta get off here, but definitely send us a message, and we'd love to connect with you further. But you got to tell your story because I have a feeling that you've got an incredible story. And you just need to get that story out there, and the business side, if you focus on telling your story and helping people, the financial part will work itself out. I know that. So
I may need some more tattoo work done, so stay in touch.
Yeah, but connect with us and message me your address because we'll send you a Ask Gary V book because that'll help you way more than we just did on the on the monetizing side. So.
Yeah, guys. You've done more for me in this short conversation than you know. I am excited to continue speaking to you guys via message and others. And I love doing tattoos on awesome people.
Hey,
so
where you located?
We will definitely stay in touch.
Where do you live?
I live in Indiana, but I travel a lot. Right now I'm in New York.
Okay. Awesome. Very cool. Well, yeah, man, we'll send me a message. Shoot me a message with your address, and then we'll just keep connecting there on in the messages there, and we can talk later.
All right, fellas, I greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Right,
absolutely. Have a good one.
Yep.
All right, who we got?
All right, so we're going to take a question from online. And this is going to go to the subjugator of change. It doesn't say that, but it's perfect for you.
Why is that?
So, Dustin Mancos, why is it so hard for people to accept change?
You know what? What's his name? Dustin? Dustin, man, probably with some of what we were just talking about, human nature at our very core, your brain is hardwired to create a safe environment for you. And if your brain knows what's going to happen next and next and next and next, then it's safe. Mm-hmm. It may be a shitty situation. You may be a slave, but you know what's going to happen next. You know what's going to happen next. But if you climb that fence and you escape, you're scared of the change because it creates an unsafe environment for you as a human. Our brains were hardwired like that. But in today's world and I understand there's situations where people aren't safe, but in today's world, we're probably at a time in civilization where, especially in America, where people are pretty safe. Mm-hmm. And so that human side of us that in our brains that's hardwired to keep us safe will actually keep you from changing because of that very thing. Mm-hmm. And so if you can get past that and just make change a way of life, and I talk about on my page and on all the crap on social media that I do, I call it crap. You do too. No, I don't. I was getting ready to punch you. But all the stuff that I do, I call it being a subjugator of change in your life. And which to subjugate means to enslave. So if you make change your slave and you force yourself to change, then your environment will change, man. And it can start out little, like get up early. Get up early. If you don't make your bed, bake your bed. If you don't, you know what I'm saying? Like do things that are uncomfortable to you. Put yourself in a situation. If you don't like speaking to people, new people, then go get on the metro in your city or the train, or go to a busy restaurant and talk to every single person you pass on the way in. Like force yourself to, or start with just the waiter or waitress. Talk to them. I mean, You got to get out of the comfort zone and force yourself to change. So I hope that answers your question, Tyler. What do you got for that?
I mean, it's the thing that we talk about all the time. If you seek discomfort, the world will deliver you pleasure.
Yep.
If you seek comfort, the world will deliver you pain.
That's a fact.
And it just is what it is. I would highly recommend, though, looking into Mel Robbins. Hey, Jason, we got a message up there on one of those phones. But look up Mel Robbins, because she talks on this subject all the time. That's her specialty. And it's so funny when I say her specialty, because I did a video, just as a sidebar, I did a video one time and I sent it to Ricky to edit. And I was like, so there's this guy, Mel Robbins, and he talks about the 5-second rule. And then all of a sudden I realized, I was like, oh crap, Mel Robbins is not a guy.
No.
But she is incredible when talking about the 5-second rule,
yeah.
and kind of breaking those habits, because that is what it is. It's just your body and your brain is hardwired to create a safe environment. So when you're out of your element,
yeah,
it's
not a lazy thing.
That's the encouragement, is that it's natural.
It's natural.
Like, it's natural to feel uncomfortable with change, but it doesn't mean you can just stop there.
You don't give into it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Very.
So what we got, Steven Spielberg?
Steven, what's up?
We're calling Brent Headley.
What? Did he just call you a half? Maybe it's because you cut the beard.
This is Brent.
Hey, Brent, this is Tyler Harrison, Joseph Caldwell, and you are on the Sales Wolves podcast, my friend.
Awesome. How are you guys doing?
Good, doing good. How about you?
Brent.
Where are you from, Brent?
I'm sorry?
Where are you from?
I'm down here in Atlanta.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Hi, Atlanta.
I'm in the Atlanta area all the time. I actually got stuck going right through the middle of it at 5 o'clock yesterday, and it's just enjoyed that process.
Bet you had some time to self-reflect during that.
I did a lot of Facebook Live during it, actually, because I was just sitting there, and I still, for the life of me, I can't understand how anyone ever gets used to it. I don't think you ever get used to it.
I don't think they do.
It's just unbelievable.
I don't think they do.
Now, do you work actually?
Luckily for me,
do you work inside the city?
I live up in Ackworth, and I drive about 20 minutes to the other side of Ackworth, so I'm lucky.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, good deal. Well, hey, what's your question for us?
So my question was, basically, you guys, when you have somebody that can be a friend or a client, not necessarily an employee, but if you have somebody that you see and you know has, this unlimited potential, but they're not tapping into any of it, do you guys think you try to push that individual and motivate that individual to do better? And when do you stop? When's it appropriate to continue to go? When's it appropriate to kind of pull back on the reins? Or do you really invest time doing it at all? Because I don't want to be rude to that individual or feel like I'm lecturing them or talking down to them, but I just need to know if that's something that you guys encounter with some of your friends and clients.
Oh man, when I started on this, this is
hashtag
Joseph
asking
Caldwell.
for a friend.
Yeah. Hashtag asking for a friend.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with me at all. This is for my buddy.
When this is Joseph. When I first started on the self-development process, man, it opened my eyes
when you first met me.
It opened my eyes to all the lack of and all the huge potential in others, but their lack of accessing it, right? And it's frustrating. But over the years, I've actually ruined some friends, some acquaintances, because of what you're talking about here. Because I figured out that unasked for advice is 100% of the time criticism. And if you're criticizing someone, they don't like you and they will never listen to you. Even if they like you, they won't listen to you ever. And because if it's unasked for, and one of the things, and this is one of the reasons why I started my page and the subjugator of change and all that stuff, and I put change on me and enforcing myself to change, and we were just talking to a good friend of ours, and he was giving us a quote, and it's probably one of my favorite quotes ever, is that when you change yourself and you're on that path of self-development, you automatically unlock that in others, and it automatically gives them permission to change. And so literally it's on each individual. Like in our organization, I know that I can help Tyler change by me changing. When I become better, when I become the best version of me, and there's always a better version no matter how far I go, it will unconsciously give Tyler permission to do the same. And he's the same way with me. The better that he gets, the more I go, I can get better too. So, and he never gives me advice, right? He doesn't give me advice. I don't give him advice. I mean, I tell him what to do all the time, but dude, he just he just got red faced, man. I think he's gonna throw
received as criticism,
and it's received as criticism.
Right.
So anyway, man, that's my 2 cents. Tyler, you got anything else?
No, I mean, I think you just hit it on the head there. I mean, if someone has to be in a place where they're open to advice to ever receive it, and that's difficult. And I've been in those situations with friends and acquaintances. But like Joseph was saying, the best thing that you can do is go be the best version of you. And if that person sees that, then that may open up that conversation. It may not. But here's the thing that I will say. If that person is happy and if they don't complain, I'd leave them alone.
Yeah, don't mess with them.
Because at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter what potential you see in that person. If they are genuinely happy and they don't complain, then they've won. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, they just may not have the ambition that you have. But if you hear that person complaining, so if you see someone and they're just, in your eyes, lazy or not living up to their potential, and they're also complaining about being broke every month, and they're also complaining about not being able to go do the things that you're doing or go do whatever they need to do, if they're complaining, then that's a whole nother situation. And that's a situation where you just need to create an environment where they feel open enough, again, by you leading by example and you excelling in what you're doing, to say, hey man, what's something that I could do to, just open up that dialogue to where they're asking you for advice. But again, like, if they're happy, I mean, I don't think there's any reason. And a lot of times you see this in relationships too, which makes it even more difficult. But man, that's a great question. We appreciate you calling in.
Thank you, man.
Do you have the copy of the Ask Gary Vee book?
I do not.
Hey, we will.
I do love me some Gary Vee though.
Yeah,
that's how I actually found you guys. So
awesome, very cool. So send me a message with your address in Ackworth, and we'll mail you out a copy of the books. It's awesome.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys giving me a call. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
I'll keep doing what you do. I'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
All right, man. Sounds good.
Have a good one.
All right, we're gonna have one more caller, and this is Greg Miller.
Greg Miller. See if you remember.
Greg Miller.
I mean, you spent 24 hours with him.
Oh, Greg, man, he's awesome.
Yeah, I know.
Dude, that's fantastic. Man, when you said that, I didn't put the
Gregory.
Hello.
Greg.
Yeah.
This is Tyler Harris.
Hey, Tyler, how's it going?
It's Joseph Caldwell.
And Joseph Caldwell. How you doing, buddy?
How's it going, man? Doing well.
Hey, you were live on the podcast, by the way. You're live streaming on about 12 different devices.
Yep.
You're being heard by millions.
Just 12.
You're being heard by millions and millions of people right now.
Yeah, so don't screw up, Greg.
All right, no pressure, guys. No pressure.
You're being heard by tens of people.
You're being heard at least in the single digits right this minute.
And there's at least 3 people paying attention. But hey,
Steven Spielberg's not even paying attention.
We thought you might have a good question, and
I do actually.
Well, then I'm glad
I have a
you
good
called.
question.
What's the question, buddy?
Which one of you is going to answer it, and who's going to do it better?
What does it pertain to?
Well, this is I had a sales pipeline question for you guys. Hoping you could help me out with this one.
Well, we'll try to tag team it. How about that?
All right, that sounds good. I like that. All right, so when it comes to follow-up, what do you guys consider too much contact?
Ooh, that is a good question.
That is.
And I would love to answer it.
Dude, I think I know what Tyler considers too much contact. And I'm going to answer for Tyler in a very short, concise manner. He doesn't feel like there there's no such thing as too much contact.
I thought you were going to say a restraining order.
A restraining, like legit, we've had to answer some certain questions from authority figures because of Tyler's contact. No, it's man, dude, there's no such thing, man. You're gonna either, my belief is that you're either gonna push them to the no they were gonna give you anyway, or you're gonna get what you want. Period. There's no such thing.
Yeah, and yeah, that's important, 100%. And here's what I would say. You want to get them to a yes or no as quickly as humanly possible, but it all depends on what you're calling them about. If you're following up and following up and following up, a lot of times you're just wasting your time because every single one of those excuses are ultimately just their way of, they're nice. People don't like to say no.
No.
People don't like to reject other people. It's uncomfortable for the majority of people on this planet. So a lot of times they'll say, hey, now's not a good time, or hey, will you call me back first of the year, or hey, we just did our budgeting for this quarter, hey, will you call me after this, but ultimately they have no interest. And so being able to get them to a actual yes or no is important. But one thing I'll add there, in the follow-up, I am always making sure that I have a specific reason for my call.
And so it's a call to action.
Yeah, so like with our business, if I'm trying to book a agency to go write business, I will call them every time I book another agency, because when I called them last time, I said, hey, I've got these 2 weeks available. Is this week or that week best for your schedule? And if they still said, hey, I'm not sure yet, no problem. When I book another agency, I will then call them back and say, hey, the reason for my call, sir, ma'am, was last time we talked, I mentioned that I had these 2 weeks available. Well, I had to book this agency on that week. So now the weeks that I have available are this week and that week. Which of those 2 weeks would work best for your schedule? I haven't been able to run this by our executive team. Great, no problem. I'll call them back when I book the next one. Hey, sir, ma'am, the last time that I called, and I will do that indefinitely, because every single time you do that, you're building credibility, because they're saying, oh, well, he's working with them. Oh, he's working with them. Oh, he's working with them. I know the owner of that business. Yeah. Maybe I'll give him a call. Hey, he's working with them. Oh, I know someone that works there. I'll give them a call. And every time you do that, but having a reason for your call, especially if you're just getting voicemails, when they finally answer, you don't want that guy to answer or that girl to answer and be like, oh my gosh, what do you want? You want to always have had a reason to call so that you don't get caught in that situation. But as long as you're doing that, it's all about being politely persistent. Politely persistent. So Joseph said restraining order, but we are completely joking by that, because one time I heard Grant Cardone talking about that with one of his sales guys, and they were being legit, like they were like celebrating the fact that this guy had just gotten a restraining order put on him from a car dealership that he'd been calling on so many times. And Gary Vee was sitting there, and Gary was just like, "That's not really that cool," because it wasn't.
No, yeah.
So it's politely persistent.
Would you recommend, if you are calling and catching voicemail, do you leave a voicemail stating that information?
I think it's all going to depend on your personality and the way you say things, because the way I say something may be completely received differently than the way you do it. I get a little bit more aggressive on each consecutive voicemail, but man, there's something powerful about walking in that business that you've called 10 times. Mm-hmm. It's a whole lot harder to reject someone to their face than it is over the phone. And just walking in the door, to me, is powerful. People don't do that anymore. People don't walk in the door.
What do you sell?
So I have a commercial painting business and
right,
also blueprint reading service.
That's right. We sat and talked about that when we were walking 24 hours. That's awesome.
Yeah, how could you forget?
I know, right? So, man, that's interesting. I like it. That's
good deal.
Absolutely. Appreciate the information.
Yeah, man. Do you have a copy of the Ask Gary Vee book?
Do I have a copy of the what book?
The Ask Gary Vee book?
I do not.
Hey, we're going to send you one. So message me your address, and we'll put one in the mail to you.
Awesome. We'll do.
All right, buddy. Have a good rest of your day. Appreciate you answering the call.
All right. Thanks. Likewise. Take care.
All right, guys.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
All right, guys. So this was fun.
Oh, yeah. I enjoyed this.
A lot of good questions. For those of you that didn't get your questions answered, we're going to do this again sometime soon. So be on the lookout for that. And
questions in the comments will be answered in the comments.
Yeah, we'll answer your questions in the comments that you that we didn't get to. But we appreciate you guys. This was episode 39 of the Sales Wolves podcast, Lunch with the Wolves. Again, I'm Tyler Harris.
Joseph Caldwell.
And we are the Sales Wolves.
Let's hit it.